Jim, what a cruel blow at the end of the game today, and a horrible way to lose a match.
I'm not overly disappointed with that as such, because you've effectively lost a point. I was disappointed with the period before that where we're 1-0 up, should really be getting a second and turn the screw and consolidate the game. That was more disappointing because that's where we lost 2 points. Obviously there's always a chance that the game could go either way at that point, and they've got the lucky deflection that got them the 3 points. So I'm disappointed for our lads because we deserve something out of it, but you get out of games what you take, not what you deserve.
There were things happened in their penalty area in that second half. Obviously Danny Lloyd missed his spot kick, but should you have had a penalty at 1-1?
I think there was another push on Jimmy Ball. There was a trip on Danny Lloyd, but like I said, I'm seeing it from the halfway line. So the linesman said that Danny was tripped by his own player. So I don't know. I'd have to ask the players that. But the bottom line is Danny puts that one away. You're 2-0 up, and then you can play your shape solidly and play on the counter-attack and work your set plays. But there was a period where we looked like we were going to convincingly win the game.
Yeah.
Bradford are tired. We looked like we had the pressure, but again we got away with it. The missed opportunities against Gainsborough because we kept it solid and kept the 1-0 win. But today we've gifted them too much possession, and obviously it's ended up with us conceding the goal. So I'm disappointed on that.
People will look at the missed penalty obviously as a turning point, but the loss of Gary Stopforth as well seemed to be a crucial turning point. What happened to him?
I think there was a few players a little bit flat today, taking a while to get going. Maybe that's the effect of Tuesday night's game on him. But Gary was feeling his chest. He felt he couldn't get his wind, and he looked particularly low energy by Gary's standards. So it's the second game now. We had an issue at Curzon where he had a bit of heart palpitations. Maybe that was just a one-off. But maybe we have to have a look at a deeper thing to see if he's okay. But from our perspective, despite his, if you like, ill health and the fact he had to come off, I thought we still had enough about us to go and win the game, and really should have got a second goal and took 3 points.
It was a funny start to the game. I thought you were sluggish for the first 20-25 minutes, but then scored, albeit against the run of play. And after the goal, that seemed to give you a real lift. And it was a case of how many were going to score now, but it didn't pan out like that.
Yeah, well, we tactically changed. I felt that they had a front four, but Gary Stopforth was a little bit low energy, but he was still having to do a lot of work with both the holding midfielders. So it took a while for the message to get across to ask Courtney to actually press in higher on the midfielders, and if you like, we end up with a 4-1-2 free shape where Danny Lloyd and Jimmy Ball can stay high, but Courtney was putting a bit more pressure on the midfielders. Lewis had to look after the four if he floated, or protect the back four if he didn't float and he played the front four. So that changed the game a little bit for us. It meant that they had less flow. They couldn't play their way up the pitch. They tended to go a little bit more direct. We were picking the ball up and we were breaking on them. We worked our set plays quite well. And like I said, we could have easily been 2-0 up from the first half, but definitely second half we pushed on. But again, you got to be ruthless, and all I ask for the lads is that if you play well, improve your set plays and be ruthless, and around the final third we'll win this game, and unfortunately they didn't.
Do you think you've learned anything more about your players, or has anything surprised you about your players today or not?
Yeah, I've got to be careful but we're giving players, we're trying to each training session add something.
Yeah.
For example, for a simple analogy would be the corners. The players have an option short corner if the opponent's going to send one out. And then they've got to assess if they send two out where the defender's coming from. Is he coming from the hole? Is he coming from the back post? And then select their choice of cross based upon a weakness or the strength of our players. We've done similar on the throw-ins. We're giving the thrower now loads of options, an inside bounce, a second player deep on the line, hopefully create a little bit of an opportunity maybe to go into the centre forward's feet to play off him, or if you're stuck and they've over defended the short one, then you put it in and maximise the spaces in the box. And And I felt that in particular on the right hand side that Mark Ross was making, wasn't really selecting the right decision. We had this at Woking when we gave him 3 options, and he's thrown the ball to the man marked by 3. So you have to understand where your opportunity to attack comes from and play it. Maybe they need more time on the training ground, more consolidation of that, but their first goal comes from us throwing the ball to Jimmy Ball, taking too many touches, and they're breaking on us. And that was not only a poor choice to throw it to Jimmy, but then Jimmy compounded with what he did. And there was other opportunities where we've thrown it to Sam Minahan when he's behind a player. And really we're not making good decisions in and around the final third. And the quality of our front players' combination play wasn't great today. Kay did really well bringing people into the game, but we don't know how to, if you like, open a team or percept on the counter-attack. So on throw-ins, we have to make better decisions. We can take our time, assess the options, and then select the right one and execute it well. That was the training on Thursday, and I'm disappointed that although it created loads of pressure in and around their box, we also, if you like, the poor choice led to a breakaway for what led eventually to their goal.
In terms of getting the train back on the tracks, obviously it's an instant opportunity at Tamworth, and people may not be aware of a plastic pitch, a 3G pitch at Tamworth. And how do you feel about going to play there on that kind of surface?
Well, at this stage of the season, you have you train on it, and then people talk about grass pitches, but there was a couple of dodgy bounces today. They could have scored Bradford off a back pass that took an unusual bounce. So there's pros and cons. Everybody wants to see the game played on grass, but if you're not investing the money and and maintain the pitch to a high standard, then the quality of football you can play on the pitch can sometimes deteriorate. Astros are more consistent. Obviously we've got a couple of clubs this year that have gone that route. Our kids' game was called off on Wednesday, but we reversed the fixture to Hyde. So it is all weather, and therefore you can play through the winter. But from our perspective, that holds no worries. What we need to do now is dust ourselves down, make sure we have the right energy levels, the right structure, and if you like, a lot more ruthless in the application of our set plays and our finishing. And if we do that, then we'll be competitive against Tamworth.
And just finally, Jim, you were hinting when you spoke to Chris earlier in the week that you were considering maybe additions to the squad. Is that still the case? Yeah,
well, we had a couple of options. I'm not sure if they were the right options at this stage. We had Josh back today. We have Scott Duxbury back today. And again, what we don't want to do is there's money in the budget, but we want to use it wisely at the right time to give us a lift. Maybe after today's game we need an extra body in with the games coming thick and fast. But with the FA Trophy coming up for the best part of December, a lone player would have to be available for them games. I want to give our players every opportunity and every chance. I want them to experience not just the buzz of playing in the FA Cup, but also the experience of having disappointments where things that you've trained that haven't come off and you failed. And from that we need to learn and then grow as players and as a team. So I want to stick with my players and obviously get the best out of them. And if I get the best out of them and can get no more and there's better quality out there, then obviously that's the next stage. But I think we're having a review at the moment of the whole structure of how we train, how we prepare for games. And what we need to do is keep working really, really hard to be as efficient as we can as a part-time side and be more and more competitive as we go forward, not just this year, but obviously into next year. But this year is all about experience, challenging, doing all the right things over a course of a season that gets you in and around the playoffs. And that's the challenge for our players now all the way to Christmas and all the way to the end of April and into next season. So if we feel our players are not quite right or we have injuries or people lose form, then obviously it'd be right and proper to bring somebody in that gives the club a lift. So there will be options. We've spoken to, the thing over the last week in particular is that we've spoken to a lot of people and we know what's available, and there's some really good quality out there available, and it's just a question of planning it right and make sure that they come in at the right time so that you can mix in with the group well and be quite effective for us.
Okay, commiserations today. Thank you.
Thanks so much.